Warning: viewer discretion is advised, as there may be some descriptions that some listeners may find upsetting. Not suitable for younger listeners. The Dark Side of the Dean. This is the story of Henry John Burnett, the last man to be hanged in Scotland. Thomas Guyan married his fiancée Margaret May on the 2nd of February 1957. A year later, they set up home in a first-floor flat at 14 Jackson Terrace in Aberdeen, and in September 1958 they celebrated the birth of their first son. The young family looked forward to a long and happy life together. But when their second son was born in 61, it was not such a joyous occasion. Thomas was not the father of the second boy, and the merchant sailor who often spent long periods away at sea knew that he wasn't. But despite his wife's infidelity, he refused to divorce her. At this time, the contribution of a homemaker wasn't recognised in divorce proceedings in Britain, and the needs of the poorer party, usually the woman, was calculated on perceived need. This led to a splitting of any assets that would favour the breadwinner, usually the man, making it very difficult for a wife to pursue a divorce when the husband did not want one. So, the couple stayed together, and in December 1961, Margaret took a job at John R. Stephen Fish Curers. It was here she met a handsome man, 4 years her junior, called Henry John Burnett. A whirlwind romance blossomed between the pair, and Margaret was finally able to leave her loveless marriage in April 1963, when she and her youngest son moved into 40 Skene Terrace with Burnett. Henry John Burnett was born January the 5th, 1942, and was only 21 when he moved in with his 25-year-old lover, Margaret May, and her son. But this relationship quickly turned sour. Henry was a very jealous and possessive man, and he soon became paranoid that Margaret would leave him the same way that she had left her husband. This escalated to the point where Burnett would lock Margaret in the house whenever he went out. A chance meeting with her ex-husband on the 31st of May gave Margaret the opportunity to escape the situation she now found herself in. Thomas Guyan, who had never wanted his wife to leave in the first place, suggested a reconciliation and that she move back in with him. May took her 66-year-old friend Georgina Katina with her for moral support and returned to the house she shared with Burnett. She'd planned to collect her son and tell Burnett that she was leaving. But when she told Henry of her plans, he flew into a rage, locked Georgina out of the house, grabbed Margaret and held a kitchen knife to her throat, screaming,
"Margaret! Margaret! You're not gonna leave me, Margaret."
Outside, Georgina hammered on the door, begging for Burnett to release her friend. Moments later, Burnett ran from the house. Relieved to find her friend unhurt, Georgina took Margaret and her son to the flat in Jackson Terrace. Henry went to his brother Frank's house in the Bridge of Dawn area of the city, where he broke into his brother's gun cabinet and stole a shotgun and a number of cartridges before boarding the number 14 bus to Jackson Terrace. Georgina, Thomas Guyan and Margaret, with her son sitting on her lap, were watching TV when Burnett started banging on the door. Georgina went to the door to tell Burnett that he had to leave, but when he refused, Thomas went too. It was then that Burnett pulled out the gun and shot Guyan at point-blank range in the face. He forced his way into the house, grabbed Margaret and dragged her up the street. At the petrol station on Seaforth Road, local man John Irvin was filling his car when Burnett approached him, saying,
"It's your car, pal. I'll take it."
Bravely, Irvin tried to stop him, even attempting to let the air out of the car's tyres, but Burnett threatened to shoot him and drove off. Taking the main road north out of the city towards Peterhead. The police gave chase, and just before Ellon, about 20 miles north of Aberdeen, Burnett pulled over and gave himself up to the police, peacefully. Telling the arresting officers Constable James G. Raper and Constable Mitchell,
"Hey, it's me you want. I gave him both barrels. He must be dead."
The trial began in July and would last for only 2 days. Burnett entered pleas of insanity or diminished responsibility. His mother Matilda gave evidence that when her son was a teenager, he would often play truant from school and threatened his sister with a knife and had once committed suicide, before breaking down in the witness box and crying out,
"Henry, it's okay, my loon. I'm okay."
In a shocking revelation, Margaret May revealed that during the police chase, Burnett proposed to her and that she had accepted. 3 psychiatrists gave expert witness statements, all stating that they considered Burnett to have been insane at the time of the murder. The jury retired, and after just 25 minutes of deliberations, found him guilty of murder. Due to the use of a firearm, the sentence was death. Afterward, Margaret May, who would call Burnett Harry, told reporters,
"I can't say why, but I know I still love him. Tommy was at sea when I met Harry, and we fell in love. On the day of the murder, my husband and I, we were together again, but I knew it'd be the same old story and we would part. I'm sorry that Tommy had to die, but I never knew that it would end this way. I said I would marry him before, and I still stand by him. My heart is with Harry. People can talk, but I still love Harry."
Both his own and his victim's family petitioned for a reprieve, but no clemency was forthcoming. A crowd of 300 people gathered outside the jail, and at 8 a.m. on the 15th of August 1963, the 21-year-old was led to the gallows in Craiginch Prison, overlooking the River Dee, where he was hanged by executioner Harry Allen. 2 years later, the use of capital punishment was suspended in Britain before being fully abolished in 1969. As was the custom, Burnett's body was buried in the grounds of the prison. It lay there until the prison, which then became known as HMP Aberdeen, was closed in January 2014 and purchased for development. Plans were lodged to turn the site into apartments, and in August 2014, after a brief search, the body was exhumed and taken to Aberdeen Crematorium for a private ceremony. In September 2019, 56 years after Burnett's hanging, a YouGov poll for the Times newspaper found that 41% of Scottish people wanted the reintroduction of the death penalty for murder. Join us next time for a special episode where we investigate the mysterious disappearance of 3 lighthouse keepers on the cursed island of Elan Mor in the Outer Hebrides. Narration by Alec Westwood. Henry John Burnett, portrayed by Ronan Doyle. Margaret May, portrayed by Chelsea Grace. Music by Rory Will. Edited by Richard Skinner. Produced and written by Cliff Hughes. The Dark Side of the Dee.